Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight for another onX Hunt Masterclass. We're talking all things elk draws tonight. We got the experts from the Huntin' Fool who will be leading us. But before we get going, we're just going to give it a few minutes to let everybody get settled in, get logged in and everything. A few housekeeping things. Don't worry if you have noise in the background or anything like that. Your audio and video are turned off. We can't see you or hear you. If you do have questions, please put them in the Q&A feature along the bottom of your screen. That's the easiest way for us to see those and for us to answer those. The chat is there more for if you just want to chime in, let us know where you're tuning in from, things like that. And this class is being recorded, so there is going to be a ton of information tonight. Some of it will go kind of fast. You will get an email tomorrow with the link to the recording so that you can go back and pause it and review slides and write down information and things like that. So if you miss something, no worries, you'll be able to see it again, in the future. It'll be up on the YouTube channel. And we are giving away 5 free hunt consultations with the folks at Huntin' Fool tonight. So stick around towards the end of the class. We'll post that giveaway link in the chat. You do have to be, present in the class when we post that link to get entered. And with that, I think we're ready to go. And Jared, I'll kick it over to you.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks everybody for attending tonight. We've got myself here tonight. Isaiah Joner joins me here in the Huntin' Fool office. We got Robert in the onX office, and collectively our goal is going to be to debunk some myths around getting elk tags and also to encourage you to get out there and hunt as much as possible. Hunting opportunities, unfortunately, continue to shrink, and now's the time. So if you are an aspiring elk hunter or a current elk hunter, we hope to help you get more tags in your pockets. The 2 big myths we want to debunk. Number 1 is we get a lot of people that reach out and say, yeah, I just don't even want to start because it's going to take me 20 years to get an elk tag of any kind in my pocket. That is simply not true. We want to encourage you not to think that way and go elk hunting as soon as possible. Conversely, we get a few people that have set out their entire lives and then they swing for the fence or think they're going to swing for the fence for the toughest tags in the nation to draw. Somewhere in the middle is where the truth lies, and that's what we're going to try to focus on tonight. So without further ado, we'll hop in. If you want to see more of our content, all of us have our YouTube channel, the Huntin' Fool YouTube channel. We've got hunts on there. If you want to get to know us better, we'd love to have your eyeballs over there too. So without further ado, we'll dive in. These are just some of the things we're going to cover. The only thing I want to talk about right out of the gate is that we do have 2 more webinars that are already scheduled, one on February 27 on mule deer strategy and one on March 12 on antelope strategy. So please join us for those as well. And then back to Jack's point, this will be recorded and on YouTube. So if there's anything we go through too fast, go watch the YouTube video or the audio and pause it, listen to it, re-listen to it. With that said, what's that?
You smoked past my slide.
Oh, did I miss a slide? Oh, there we go. See, right out of the gate, operator error.
All right. Yeah, like Jared said, we are covering all things elk tonight. This is basically an overview of what we will be looking at. As Jack mentioned, this will be recorded and aired on YouTube after this. So if you have any questions, feel free to jump back in there. But yeah, a lot to take in. Definitely the most popular species to hunt right now, I would say, in the US. So let's get into it.
Let's go hunting. All right, Robert, take us away.
Well, we're going to start out with Idaho. And the reason we're going to start out with Idaho is that's my personal strategy. Idaho, they are over-the-counter tags, but they can sell out typically within the very first day. This has kind of been a disaster, the way it's went the last couple of years. Lots of things about it don't work really well about wanting to hunt with your buddy. So I can't necessarily plan on hunting with somebody unless we're buying a tag together. So Idaho, their over-the-counter tags are going to go on sale December 1st. There's kind of 3 ways to get them. You can get them online, which you'll be put in a queue, like you see the picture, over on a phone call, which they did add a bunch of operators, and some of our members were actually able to get through and get tags there. Or the third way, and the way I like to do it, is to go to a vendor and stand in line. That's kind of your best bet if you want to hunt with your buddy, because if you're on the phone or on the online queue, more than likely you're not going to be able to get to the same tags. So really, it's kind of a disaster. Hopefully they change it. It is something that I start out my year with. So for me personally, December 1st, I'm going to try to get a tag in Idaho. If I get my tag in Idaho, that's going to kind of dictate which way I go with all these other states that we're going to talk to next. If I don't get a tag, I'm going to be more aggressive than the other ones. This year I did not get a tag. I was in the queue, and by the time I came up, there was nothing I wanted. So Idaho is kind of the start. If you can get a tag, then you can kind of take a deep breath and like, man, I got an elk hunt. I'm going to go elk hunting. But as we go through the rest of these, you'll see there's plenty of opportunities where you can still get tags. But for me, Idaho is kind of what kicks the year off. And you got to be on top of it because it's December of the year prior. Most guys are, just getting over Thanksgiving and they forget about it and miss it. I want to say there was like 60,000 people roughly that were on the online queue last year. So like I said, some guys logged in at 9:45, and then at 10 o'clock they put you in the queue and they give you a number. There was guys that were just getting into the shopping mode at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it can be really tough, but if you want to hunt elk in the West, Idaho's a great state, and you got to play this game. Hopefully Idaho improves this game sooner or later, but Idaho has just got phenomenal archery elk hunting and even rifle elk hunting on these over-the-counter units. I say they're over the counter, but if you can get them on December 1st, you can go hunting in Idaho.
We use that term loosely.
One thing to add to that, Robert, if you are planning on going to a licensed vendor in person, jumping in line may not be that easy. There are guys that were camped out for 1, 2, 3 days in advance before when these tags went on sale. So again, a lot of these more popular areas where they sell tags, that was happening at. So maybe make a little bit of a plan ahead of time before you decide to drive down to your local vendor.
And I agree.
Yeah, more pop.
Don't go to Sports' Warehouse. Go to some little mom and pop that maybe get overlooked by some other people. But then too, if I'm standing in line, don't think you're just waiting on me. More than likely, I'm buying tags for me, Isaiah, Jared, Austin, Garth. Most of them will let you buy tags for 5 people. So just because you see 5 guys in front of you, that doesn't mean there's 5 purchases. That may be 25 purchases.
Yep, exactly. Good points. Okay, moving on. And again, right now we're in the over-the-counter section portion of this. Isaiah, I want to talk about Utah elk.
Yeah, this one actually was really not on my radar until I moved to Utah and was introduced to it, but I love it. It's a great hunt that I can partake in each year right out our back door. They have various different opportunities. Their archery elk tags for the general tags are unlimited. They go on sale mid-August, so there's no cap there for residents or non-residents. A lot of different units across the states. I personally like to hunt some of the better big bull units to where I get to go see some great rut activity, see some monster bulls, and shoot a spike. So, and then there's also 15,000 any bull rifle permits and spike rifle permits. And again, those are residents and non-residents combined out of that 15,000. Again, those go on sale early August, but it's a great opportunity, low stress hunt. I think there's lots of elk, and there are a few people in the field, but it's a fun hunt.
Yeah, it's incredible. We talk about reps in the red zone a lot. If you haven't hunted elk a ton, it's a great opportunity to get out, knock some rust off, and learn how elk behave in some of the most amazing units that elk live in the entire lower 48. So highly recommend it. This is a little quick map of a lot of those areas that show the any bull, spike bull areas. We're not going to spend a ton of time going over this because, again, you can pause this later and look at it. It also breaks out the seasons by weapon and season date. So just take a look at this later on. If you're interested in playing around with this opportunity, it is a great opportunity that we highly recommend. Okay, Joner.
Another state that is a great opportunity currently is Colorado. Over the years, a lot of these areas in the white used to be over-the-counter opportunities for elk. They have since gone to a draw. Colorado is now talking about taking all OTC archery elk tags to a draw. We would expect that probably in the next year or two. So don't miss out on it this year. If you don't have a tag in your pocket and you want to go, most of the better hunting is going to be more on that west side of the state. Out in the plains there's not really much for elk, but those units in the western region there do have good elk numbers. It is an over-the-counter tag, so you're going to be dealing with a fair amount of hunt pressure, but a lot of these units do have areas where you can get away from hunters. There's some good remote stuff. There's some stuff you can hunt close to the pickup. Basically, any style you're looking for, Colorado does have it. So, and these tags, again, you can pick them up when you drive to Colorado right before the hunt starts. You can go in and purchase one. So great opportunity as of now. Don't miss out on it before it goes to a draw.
Which it will. All right, Robert, talk to us about rifle Colorado elk.
So rifle, it's kind of nice. Colorado offers second season and third season rifle elk hunts that are over the counter. There are 4 seasons, the first season and the fourth season. Those are going to be draw units, but you can see the dates on the second and third. If you don't have a hunt, this is a good place that you can go and go for an elk hunt. Guaranteed. So again, when we come back to that guy that's like, man, I haven't been on an elk hunt in literally 4 years. So it's like, well, he could have been spike hunting the end of August in Utah, and then maybe he could be in Colorado third season. So there's plenty of hunts out there for anybody to go hunting. But whatever fits your season dates better here would be a good time to go. I kind of like the third season myself a little bit better, just because typically you have a little bit more snow that's going to move more elk around. But all the units that you see there are available, on that second and third season, on an over-the-counter tag. You're going to see more hunting pressure because there'll be a lot of deer hunters in the field as well. And again, these are over-the-counter units, but if you don't have a hunt going on and you have a window, these work really well. Colorado has more elk than any other state. We'll see how long that lasts. Now they have wolves. Thank you, Oregon, for giving them their wolves. I'm sure there's a lot of people pretty upset with Oregon, and I would be too. But Colorado is a great place to go. Like the aspen country, if you want to hunt, the cedars. I mean, they've got every single kind of topography in Colorado. If you want to go elk hunting, it's a great place to go. I mean, it gets hit by most people coming from the East Coast because it's the first good state you hit. But there's plenty of opportunities. You have no excuse for not going hunting in Colorado.
Yeah, and honestly, I can say that pretty much one or more of our hunt consultants hunt Colorado every year on some of the over-the-counter opportunities. We believe in it, or we wouldn't do it. Okay, Washington elk. Washington is a choose your weapon state. You have archery tags, you have muzzleloader tags, and rifle tags. It is a traditional black powder state, so you have to shoot more of a traditional black powder weapon. But the bottom line is you have to choose your weapon, and then you also have to choose east or west side of the state. And it's not fair to say it's Roosevelt's versus Rockies, because technically the Rosies are all clear out on the coast. So it's, what is it, the Cascade Rocky that you would call it? A lot of those are in part of the East Coast tags. On the western side of the state, they've got a good archery season. They actually have a pretty good muzzleloader, pretty good black powder season too. A lot of great Roosevelt opportunities. A lot of that is on timber company land, private land managed for some form of public access. And then there's a lot more public land on the eastern side, but outside of like the Selkirks in the northeast corner, there's not many opportunities to hunt branch antlered bulls on the eastern elk tag. Whereas on the western elk tag, there's a lot more, but primarily Roosevelt or Cascade Rockies, however you want to classify those. So it's a good state if and only if you had already driven through Colorado if you're coming from the east.
A state we do not believe in as much.
We don't hunt Washington much. Let's put it that way. So, all right, Robert, you want to talk about Oregon?
Yeah, so Oregon is a great state.
From an
Just like Jared said on Washington, it's kind of the same thing. We've got all the Roosevelts on the Coast Range. Then you get kind of the Cascades in the middle, and then you've got a lot of Eastern Oregon has a bunch of Rocky Mountain elk. It is a true over-the-counter state when it comes to the Rosies. You can hunt the rifle season there in November on the coast, and then you can hunt them in the archery season. There's only actually one draw unit for Roosevelt's, and that's the Powers unit. When we go to the east side of the state, we go back in time 3 years ago, it was all over the counter as well, except for a few units up in the north east portion of the state. They've always been a draw. They did make it a draw the last couple of years, but there's still some units kind of down in the southeast and like up towards Lookout unit that are still over the counter. So you can buy an over the counter tag and hunt, a big portion of Oregon. Again, the tag never sells out. And then there's rifle opportunities as well. So Oregon's one of those that find the timetable that fits you and go to Oregon and go hunting.
All right. Now keep in mind, we're now moving into our short-term draw strategy. That was the last of the over-the-counter opportunities. So now we're moving to short-term draw. I'm going to start with a Wyoming slide, and then Robert's going to knock it home on the limited. So Wyoming elk general is a bit of a misnomer. That term has been used for as long as I've been applying in Wyoming, which is a long time. And basically what it means is for residents, it's a general tag, an over-the-counter tag, unlimited quota, you name it. For non-residents, it's been a draw for as long as I can remember, but the easiest tag in the state of Wyoming to draw. This year, they broke it used to be that if you drew a Wyoming general, all of those general units that you see highlighted on this slide, you could hunt. Now they've broken it into 3 regions. So it's anybody's guess as to how many points it's going to take to guarantee yourself a tag in any of these. We are confident that region W there is going to be the hardest, the most difficult region to draw, burn the most points, but we can't even make an educated guess on how many points it's going to take. They did increase the total number of statewide licenses from 3,419 up to an additional 800 plus tags if you look at all 3 general regions in aggregate. So it's a great opportunity. Obviously, again, we're going to say that Region W is going to draw out at a higher point quota than E and S. But nonetheless, I guess the dust will settle over the next few years and we'll get a better picture of it. Robert will talk in the next slide about how tags are allocated in Wyoming, because it doesn't necessarily take points. There are random tags set aside. So I'll segue over to Robert on that.
First thing I want to say about Wyoming is if you're really interested in this, go back and watch the last webinar. Logan Hedges was on board with it. He's one of our PHAs. He lives there in Wyoming, and he's got it dialed. So if you want further detail than what we're going to give, go back and look at the last one. But like Jared said, they broke Wyoming, the general, into 3 different areas this year. And when you apply, you pick what you want. You know, you're going to pick on the special, more expensive, or the general. But when you're done with that, 75% of all the tags are going to go to the guy with the most points. 25% are going to go random. Doesn't matter if I have 12 points and he has 2 points. When we go into the random draw, we each just have 1 chance is all that is. Still takes your points if you draw the random. But, you know, you can go to Top Rut, you can go to the Huntin Full, and you can look. We broke down every single unit, how many points it took to take, what the random draw odds were. So if you look through the minimum points and you realize I don't have enough to draw any of these, then look at the random draw. If the random draw says 0, that probably means there's not enough tags issued to non-residents to have a random tag. So don't apply there, because if you do, you're going to have no chance of drawing. So you want to look for ones that have the random if you're below the minimum points it takes to draw. A lot of guys, you know, get carried away and they're like, you know, they started out thinking Wyoming was going to be short term, and then they've made it long term. So there's guys that are sitting on nearly max points of 18, still trying to draw tags. I took a different route. I think I've drawn 6 or 7 bull tags since this started. There's point sharing. If you find a guy that has more points, you can use his points to kind of share points and point boost someone else. It's one of those things where I like to get super aggressive in this state, because I got to apply on January 31st, and I don't even care what I apply for at that point. Like, I'm just putting in for either regular or special, and a party or no party. That's all I care about. Then as the rest of the year goes by and I'm looking at these other draws, Wyoming holds our money forever. And on May 8th, we have to, is the last day we can modify our application. It's free to modify. I can modify it 200 times. But on May 8th is when I got to make my final decision. So I'm going to look at what I've drawn, what I've accumulated from tags up to that point, and then I'm going to get super aggressive. If I'm not sitting on something good, maybe I'm going to go towards a general unit. If I've got a bunch of good tags, maybe I'm going to swing for the fence. So Wyoming is that state that can be frustrating because they want to hold your money and we got to pay it all up front. But there's so many great hunts in Wyoming. And I mean, Wyoming is known for 330 type bulls in almost every unit. So you can go to Wyoming and have a great hunt. So if you didn't apply by January 31st, which is already passed, buy an elk point. You know, elk points are $52. You can buy that, you know, starting in July 1st. If you got a youth, they're only $10, but buy those points because, you know, when it comes down to it in the end, you can look at how many points you have and decide, hey, I can force a tag in Wyoming this year. So again, back to my getting on a 3 or 4 year rotation to hunt every state. If I didn't get Idaho, you know, I'm going to look at how many points I got. Maybe I have 4 or 5 points. Maybe one of these general units I can draw will know after the draw this year what they usually take. But then I can kind of put that into a cycle where, maybe I'm going to be, rolling through some of these states like Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Oregon, and hunting elk every single year. So Wyoming, even if you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do, I want to hunt elk, just buy a point every year. That's the best advice I can give you, is if you're going to hunt elk, buy a point in Wyoming every single year, because you will be able to hunt elk in Wyoming on either a general hunt. You might not catch some of these top end ones, but you can go hunting in Wyoming, and there's great opportunities. I know we hunt Wyoming just about every year, someone in the office, and honestly, it's one of my favorite states to hunt.
Yeah, I think it actually is my favorite state to hunt. I don't love the way their management and tag allocation system is going, but I do love hunting the state of Wyoming. Robert touched on the regular and special price a couple times. Just to clarify there, so many people are confused by it. You're basically Wyoming's banking that some people will pay more money for the same tag. So when you talk about regular versus special in Wyoming, you're literally hunting the same exact season, the same weapon, the same elk, you name it. It's just that person A paid this much to hunt them, person B paid that much to hunt them. So you can look at the draw odds. You see that they're broken out here on this screenshot. Again, come back to it. We won't get too deep in the weeds, but just keep in mind that even though it sounds confusing, it's just Wyoming's way of trying to charge more for the same tag. No other way to explain that. Okay, Joner.
All right, Colorado. As you can see here on the slide, that you do not want to be banking points in Colorado. I would say the more points you have, sometimes the worse the units get. I don't believe there's a huge difference in the quality of animals you can find in a 7-point unit all the way up to a 28-point unit, except for there's a couple units up in the northwest corner that are far and above better than the rest. But outside of that, you're just point banking. I tell guys, basically for Colorado, what you're looking at is again, the quality is fairly similar from these 1 to 15-point units as far as the bull quality goes, but the hunt pressure gets significantly less. Like you start looking at, 35, 18, 77 permits in some of these units compared to over-the-counter units where you may be hunting with 500 other guys. So for me, I look at it as more of a hunt that has less pressure. You might be able to be a little more selective in your hunt style, where you're going and all that. But it is, I would say, probably the worst state right now as far as the quality of elk goes for those high point units.
Yeah, the value proposition is not there for the number of points required. One thing I would add to Colorado too is just like Isaiah was saying, you should get in and look at the draw odds. It is a preference draw state for elk and deer, meaning if you don't have them, so if you look at that third column where it says unit 10, 17% drew with 28 points. If you did not have 28 points, you were not in the draw. A lot of people are confused about that. They think, well, I've got 4 points. I'm gonna swing for the fence and try to draw unit 10. You didn't show up to the party. They took your money. They enjoyed your application fees, and they threw your application in the trash. So as a preference draw state, you have to have as many points that are listed on our draw odds in order to be in the game. Anything else on that, Robert? That's an important state. So
yeah, on Colorado, I just, we're talking non-residents too. Like residents, there are some random tags, but non-residents, there's not. Also, you can't point share in the state. This is one that a lot of guys get confused on. If he's got 10 points and I got 0, we'd think we'd be going in with 5. We'd actually both be going in with 0. They just take whoever has the lowest points and go. I built a ton of points in Colorado years ago, and I think I was at like 12 or 14, and I burned them on a 7-point unit. And it was the best thing I ever did. And then now just going back and hunting every couple of years. My favorite hunt there is the muzzleloader hunt. I'm just hunting honestly the same kind of bulls I would be hunting in most of these other general states, but it's just like a little bit of payback. It's like I've had all these bulls hang up at 50, 60 yards with a bow, and all of a sudden they step out at 110 yards, and I just put a lug nut through their chest, and now I got my elk. So like it is the funnest hunt out there. You might not be hunting big bulls, but you got all these screaming bulls running around, and you got a muzzleloader in your hand. I mean, it's awesome. What other state offers that? And again, a lot of these are, like they said, 0 to 5-point units. So just get that in your rotation, like we were talking about, and go to Colorado if it's a 3-point unit or a 2-point unit every other year, and go chase them with a muzzleloader. It's awesome, man.
Yeah, no, excellent feedback. Okay, Montana elk combo, Robert, why don't you take this one?
Perfect. So I just finished the Montana section. It's going to come out in our February magazine. And, Montana is super complicated. And so when you look at this slide right here, this is the combination license for general deer, elk, and big game. Montana makes non-residents apply for this. Residents, us, can just go to the store and buy this over the counter. You guys are going to have to draw this tag. So it's a little bit weird how it works. So first of all, you can be in a party of up to 5 people, and like you'll see like 2.2 preference points guaranteed to tag. Well, that's telling you that they don't round; they go right to the decimal point. So what it is everybody with 2.2 to 3 drew, and then you can see what it went down below that. So they don't round when it comes to these. These are preference points, not bonus points. There's 2 different points in Montana. Preference points are only for non-residents, and they're only for these combination licenses. Like, we have no chance of ever having a preference point in Montana. They're $100 point. They're expensive, So then we talk about the random draw. So again, this is a preference point draw, kind of like Wyoming. 75% of the guys are going to draw. They have the most points. Well, then you would assume everybody that didn't draw is going to go into the random draw, like every other state. Nope. Montana's like, honestly, we're only going to let the people with 0 points go into the random draw. So if you had 1 point, you don't go into any draw. So the 0 point guys are the ones that are going to get in this random draw. So as a non-resident, there's 2 trains of thought, and you got to figure out which one's best for you. Some guys are planners, and they're like, I have to plan when I'm going to go hunting. Those guys, I recommend buying points, because you buy a point, say in the July point period, in 2025, in 2026, you buy another one. Last year, you had an 84% chance. If you had a buddy that had 3, you could jump in, it would take you even higher. So those are the planner guys, but those are $100 a point kind of guys. Then there's the guys like me that just fly by the seat of their pants. Those are the guys that are going to put in for 0 every single year. Now, last year was 60. I've seen it as high as 70. I've seen it as low as 30. If you like to gamble, if you got any guys probably from Nevada, they're going to be 0 point guys. But if you're a planner, build points and realize I'm going to more than likely hunt this every odd year or every even year. If you're a guy that's like, I'm just going to roll the dice every time on 0, you're going to be somewhere between a 30 and 70% chance of drawing. The cool thing about this is, if you're that planner guy, you're never going to go more than 3 years without drawing a tag. I mean, that's just, there's no way. There's only 3 is the max for preference points. And if you apply and don't draw twice on your 3rd year, you're going to be guaranteed that tag. Montana also did some other crazy stuff, again, with these preference points. If, Isaiah bought a preference point last year, and he's got one in right now. He's like, I got 1 preference point going into Montana. April 1st, if Isaiah doesn't apply, that $100 preference point is gone. So he could have just took a $100 bill, rolled down the window of his truck, and let it go. It's the same thing. So do not buy points, preference points in Montana, unless you're planning on applying or hunting that next year. So do not do that. So bonus points, we'll get into that next. That's, for the limited entry hunts, but for this combination hunt, that's kind of what you need to go. There's the breakdowns. I think the 2 points at 84% is the lowest I've seen it in the last couple of years. It's usually been in that kind of 90-some% range. The other thing is outfitters their clients can buy essentially 2 points. So, if I'm an outfitter up here in Montana, and Jared wants me to go guide him, signs a contract, Jared could buy the normal point and the outfitter point. So him as my client can go in every year with 2 points. So it's a way for the outfitters to kind of get their clients more tags. That's just kind of how it is. Montana is probably one of my favorite places to hunt elk, only because it allows me, almost 4 months to try to kill an elk. So you can get a 6-week archery season, and this year I think it's going the 7th. This is the latest it ever is in the cycle. I think it goes the 7th till the 20th, if I remember right, and this is off the top of my head. And then the rifle season is going to open October 26th and go till December 1st. And again, that's the latest it's going to be. And then if you've got a muzzleloader, I believe believe it's like the 12th or 14th through the 22nd. So you got a lot of time to kill your elk if you're going to be hunting Montana. So again, this is like one of my favorite states. If you don't draw a tag, a lot of guys will turn their tags back in, and then I believe it's June 1st or something. They'll kind of make a list of like for people that turn back tags, and they'll even reissue those all the way through hunting season. The cool thing about that reissue list is if you get a tag on that, it doesn't take your points. So if you had one preference point and got that tag, it's not going to take it. So next year you'd be in a better position to draw. But it's really confusing. That's all there is to it. But do not buy a preference point for $100 unless you plan on applying in April. That's all there is to it. Bonus points, buy them. They never expire until you draw. Anything I'm missing, Jared?
Yeah, just one thing on the preference points. In Montana, when you buy a preference point, they allow you to buy that and take it into the draw with you. So essentially, like the other states where they tack it on if you don't draw a tag, when in Montana on these preference points, you're buying it going into the draw. So if you're sitting on one and I purchase one now and then I purchase an outfitter point, I'm going into the draw with 3 points this year.
Yep, well said.
And also your bonus
Okay, now
points go in as well. So if you buy a bonus point, any points you buy in Montana, they put them in that year.
that year on the way into the draw. Yep, and that is an exception to the rule. So as if the combination license wasn't complicated enough, we're going to talk about the limited entry side of things. Again, Robert was very clear, and thankfully so. The preference points apply just to the combo licenses. Now we're going to talk about bonus points over here in the limited entry. And essentially what happens, we're going to walk you through this flow chart real quick. Again, I would pause this, screenshot it, memorize it. We're not going to get too deep in the weeds, but I do want to walk you through it. Step one, you're going to select one or more of those options as you start to apply. The required piece is the combo license. Like Robert said, you can't hunt elk in Montana without either the big game combo or the elk combo, period. So you have to have that, but you also can, like Robert said, buy a preference point, the $100 preference point, if you indeed plan on hunting the next year, or if you're trying to kind of move into that planner type of approach. You can also optionally enter the limited entry application, and that's what we're going to walk you through now. So after you've selected your required combo license, which is going to be either an elk combo or a big game combo, either one of them have an elk tag in them. Then if you're successful, over here on number 3, if you're successful in the combo license drawing, but you did not check that you did not opt in for a limited entry tag, then you have 2 options. You can hunt all the general elk units with all weapon types. Robert just pointed them out: archery, rifle, and muzzleloader. Or you can return that combo license up till August 1st for an 80% refund. After that, I think it's 50% till the hunt starts. So those are your 2 options. If you drew the license, the combo license, but you didn't check limited entry. If you checked limited entry and you didn't draw in the limited entry, then you're right back into this same as if you had not checked limited entry. On the other hand, if you're successful in the limited entry elk draw, you can hunt exclusively in the region you applied for. And I say region because some of the tags are unit specific. Some of them include more than one unit in them. But you can hunt exclusively in that region for the weapons that you selected at the time of application. I say that plural because in some units, like in the big or in the elk horns, if you draw a tag, the rifle and the archery are both included in that limited entry permit, whereas in some others, it's either an archery only or a rifle only. If your permit limits you to one weapon type, you can use a different weapon during open general seasons. Sounds complicated. Hopefully this flow chart will give you time to digest it. Like I said, I don't think we can run through all of it today and have it all sink in. Robert, anything to add on that?
No, I think you pretty much nailed it. It's just one of those things where take a look at your tag and whatever seasons it has on there, you can only be in that unit at that time. And then just to kick back on the outfitter tag that, me and Isaiah touched on, if you do draw an outfitter tag, you're only allowed to hunt with that outfitter. You can't hunt with him for 2 weeks, then go hunting yourself. That tag's only valid when you're in the presence of that outfitter.
Yeah, good point. Okay. All right, Oregon elk. Robert, kick us off again.
All right, Oregon elk. So we talked about the over-the-counter stuff earlier. The few units down in the southeast, look out for Rockies, and then everything on the other side. And then we talked about like 3 years ago, it went to a draw. Well, as you can see, here's the draw. All of them are pretty much guaranteed with, 1 to 2 points. So this is, again, that situation where if you're not sitting on a bunch of Oregon elk points, you can go and hunt on a regular basis. The Snake River is a great unit, lots of elk in there. There's a lot of other units that are up in that portion of the state that are really good as well. So as a non-resident, I know some guys that are like, Oregon's my only state. I'm going to apply, and if I don't draw, then I'm going to go hunt Rosie's on the West Coast. If I do draw, I'm going to hunt my draw unit. And then, so they just alternate every single year and just mainly hunt Oregon. The year they draw, they hunt Rockies. The year they don't draw, they hunt Roosevelts. So again, it depends on where you live, what states you want to hunt, but there are plenty of opportunities in Oregon where you can draw a really good, what I would consider an average for other states' general archery elk licenses, every 1 to 3 years. And on the rifle side, it's gonna take more points, but you can still do it on a semi-regular basis. So again, Oregon is that one state where I would tell guys, if it's in the right geographical region where you're going to be hunting, maybe California guys, maybe Washington guys, they should kind of be looking at it. I don't think you're going to have many guys drive across Colorado and Idaho and all these other states to get to Oregon, but it is another option where you can hunt on a regular basis. So again, back in that 3 or 4 year rotation, if Oregon comes up and it's a hunt I want, that's where I'm going to go. But these were over the counter a couple years ago. I would assume as time goes by, they'll start creeping up with point creep to maybe 2 or 3 point units. But right now is a good time to be hunting Oregon. And again, there's plenty of public land over on that country, the eagle caps, all that crazy stuff. I mean, there's lots of places to go and hunt elk if a guy's willing to put in, some effort.
A little extra boot leather. Okay. All right. Now we're moving from short-term draw to long-term draw. These are what we call the maybe never states, as in you might not ever get lucky enough to draw them. Robert, I think I was going to have you kick this one off. Is that him or you? Robert?
Yeah, so, when we say maybe never states, like, if I had to rank these as states I thought I would draw elk tags in, Arizona would be my first, Nevada would probably be my second, and Utah would probably be my third. And you could flip-flop the last two, it really depends. But Arizona, honestly, if you get, like I said, it says 10 to 17 points, but if you're a loyalty point, you've taken your hunter ed, that gives you an extra 2 points. I'm 44 years old now. I've drawn 3 Arizona elk tags. I've drawn 1 Nevada elk tag, and I'll probably die before I draw a Utah elk tag, unless I move to Utah. So, I look at it as, yeah, these are maybe never states. If you're going for, I'm a 350 type bull guy. But honestly, if you're like, I would be jacked to shoot a 300-inch bull, Arizona, you could draw on a fairly regular basis. And there's even units in Utah where, like the Wasatch and stuff like that are more easy to draw tags where, and again, half go random, a guy could kill some of those bulls that would not be, considered once in a lifetime or never draw. So if you're 350 plus, they're definitely never draw. Nevada is like pretty much 350 plus in every unit. It's hard to have a bad elk hunt in Nevada. Even some of the least desirable units kill big bulls every year, but that's the smallest elk population of any of the 3 states we're talking about here. So it's the most well managed, just because they can't give too many tags. So again, if you're 350 plus, you maybe never draw. But if your standards aren't that high, you're probably going to draw Arizona and Utah. That's what I'd look at. And Nevada is kind of that never draw unless you get super lucky and lightning strikes, but then you're going to go kill a giant. I know Jared's drawn Nevada, I've drawn Nevada, so it can happen.
Yep. Took me a hot second, but I got it after 13 years. Okay. Other opportunities. Adele?
Yeah, Idaho and New Mexico. So unlike most other states that have either a bonus or a preference point system in it, Idaho and New Mexico are 100% random, no points. And so everyone goes to the table with the same odds. I know all of us here have drawn New Mexico and Idaho tags in the past. So it's, if you like to gamble, definitely throw into it. Idaho, that one's a little harder for me. to go after just due to the cost of the license fee. Typically, if I'm planning on hunting bears there, or if I have a hunt license, I will throw in to apply for some of those better units. They're pretty limited, pretty poor odds across the board, but there can be some really good hunting depending on the area and weapon you choose. New Mexico, I feel like it's a must apply if you're looking at any state across the West. Pretty cheap up front. They do collect your tag fees when you go into the draw. It has a quick turnaround on the refund there, like 4 to 5 weeks typically. But a lot of those units, I mean, they have units that are as low as 2% odds up to mid 20s. But I would say some of the worst New Mexico units are better than some of the best Colorado units. I mean, there's good elk numbers there. Not a ton of predator pressures. Tag numbers aren't egregious in a lot of these areas. So I would say it's a must apply if you're looking for that random chance to go out and have a shot at it. In New Mexico too, if you're planning on going outfitted, there is a draw set aside, the outfitter draw, that does increase your odds slightly. In some areas, you do have to have a signed contract and apply with that outfitter number, but it does increase it a little bit.
I would add that when we talk about raffles in general, one thing we don't have on a slide in here is that most of these states have a super tag or an equivalent thereof, which is a pretty cheap entry to try to draw like a statewide opportunity. Generally speaking, you can hunt pretty much the whole state, all open weapons, all open seasons, etc. I think all of us regularly participate in those super tags or raffles, true raffles through the states. Yep. Speaking of bad draw odds, again, talking about myths, there are a lot of people, like we just talked about, those maybe never draw states like Utah, Nevada, Arizona, etc. It is important to know, and we did have it on that slide, that in most cases, some of the tags are either forced to go random or it's all random. Like Nevada, it has a point system. It's a bonus point system. They square your points. So you do get an exponentially increasing chance of drawing a low random number in Nevada. But at the end of the day, you could go in with 0, I could go in with 24, and you might draw the tag and I might not. So there are these 1 in a million opportunities that you always have to keep in mind too, and not get caught in the mindset that there's no way I'm ever going to draw one of those tags. Except we do have a few exceptions down here. We talked about this earlier, Colorado being a true preference draw for non-residents for elk. If you're below the preference line, if you don't have enough points to be in the draw, you have no chance, no shot. Oregon is the same way. And some of the Wyoming limited hunts that have a low number of licenses don't have enough to issue random tags in that 75-25 breakout. So keep that in mind. But outside of that, pretty much the rest of the states, you got a shot.
There is one thing to add on there, and there's only like 2 or 3 units in Montana that have less than 10 tags. But again, if you apply for a unit as a non-resident, one of these limited entries, like there's one down by the park, there's one up by the the game range on the front, they only have 5 tags. If you, and that goes for really any species, if you're applying for a unit that only has less than 10 tags, you have no chance. But Montana will allow your application to go through. Again, we didn't put it on here because there's 2 or 3 units, but if you're watching this and you've always been applying for that unit, there's probably a reason you've never drawn.
Yeah, that can happen in New Mexico as well. It's very important to make sure that there are enough tags that whether you're in the outfitter portion or in the DIY portion, that there's enough tags to actually have an allocation for a non-resident. So again, as a Huntin' Fool member, we can help you out with that. Make sure that you don't stumble when you're already spending your hard-earned money. Okay, there are methods to bypass the draw. Isaiah?
Yeah, I mean, we see each year getting harder and harder to draw these tags. You can see, I mean, Colorado's up to 32 points in some of those areas. So we get a lot of guys that are frustrated that, I mean, they come to the table, they're 50 years old and say, what do I do? There are some options, again, depending on whether you want to go guided or DIY. Some states like Colorado, New Mexico, Nevada, and Utah do have landowner vouchers. The demand for those has really increased over the last 5 years. Prices have at least doubled. You're seeing a lot of the better tags be taken up by outfitters now. And then they hold those for their clients and sell them outright. So you don't see a lot of great tags come to the table in really any of those states to where normal everyday guy has a great shot at getting them. And then when you do see a really good tag come up, they don't last very long. There are, again, other ways to bypass draw if you're going to go on a guided hunt. Idaho, some of the other states have outfitter allocated. So the state sets aside set a number of tags for that outfitter that they have the ability to assign to a client. Again, you would need a book hunt through them. New Mexico, same thing through the guide draw, increases your odds. And then a lot of these outfitters have been working with ranches and landowners for years and basically sign contracts to tie up all their landowner vouchers. Utah has CWMU hunts. Colorado has ranching for wildlife. And again, those are private land hunts that essentially have their own set dates where the state comes in, does an overview and allocates them those outfitters or landowners tags that they can then sell. Those two states usually come at a pretty high cost. I would say some of the better hunts in Utah and Colorado, because you can hunt with a rifle during the rut. Those are upwards of 25,000+ to get on for like a 320 type bull. Canada also has some pretty good opportunities. We have a lot of guys that have cold feet about going to Canada, but Alberta, BC, they do have a good elk population up there. We work with great outfitters that sell and guide those hunts. If you really want to pull out your pocketbook and buy a Thule elk hunt, those are upwards of $50,000 now. So, and then as Jared mentioned, a lot of these states do have raffle or super tag options where it's pretty minimal expense. $5. Robert, your son,
Yeah, this photo's
won a $5 expo tag and arguably one of the best late season units here in Utah. So there are those random chances. I would say, I mean, we tell guys all the time, you know, if you're throwing $200, $300 away to a lot of these states for your hunt license, you know, your odds are almost just as good at dumping them into some of these raffle super tag chances at some of the best tags in the state. Reservations, hunts, again, they have their own fishing game, their own tags, allocation and whatnot. Again, these have become more difficult to acquire over the years. The demand for them has really skyrocketed. The price has gone through the roof. So there are reservations that have draws that you can apply for. There are reservations that have just permits. Most of those permits are on a waiting list now if you want a better hunt. So we do have more information on our website, Huntinful website, on all the reservations that do have some type of a draw or tag allocation. And then if you have a checkbook, you can get auction permits. So a lot of these states set aside certain tags to be auctioned off through different organizations. Most of these are through a 501c3, so they are tax deductible. A lot of that money goes right back into conservation. I would say some of the lowest end hunts are going to start at 10-ish thousand, and the upper end hunts are going to go for several $100,000. So it's a way to get around the draw, but it's coming at an expense.
Yeah.
And I'll just throw
Okay.
in that. Oh, can we go back to that one for 1 second, Jared? Sorry. So landowner tags, like he talked about, we're not really in that game anymore. Years ago when I came here, we were dealing in a lot of landowner tags with the price and just getting them. You know, that's not something that Huntinful's really, you know, dabbling in or playing in. We do help guys out, but it's not something we're really going after. Also on the guided hunt side, if you don't know what you're looking for, you can go to our website and go to Huntinful Adventures, and you can go to find your hunt, and you can look at all these different elk, and you can go kind of through any of this stuff. So just if there's something you're looking for, but you don't really want to call and ask somebody, go to our website, play around, see what's all available. If something piques your interest, then give the guys a call. But that's a great place to look. Also on the state tags and raffles, if you go to our website as well, go to license app and go under the license app tab, they have a state raffle document there where you can see every single raffle that's available across the West. I totally agree with Isaiah. He made a comment ago about Idaho limited entry elk. I don't know if I want to drop $200 on that. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. You could take that $200 and you could get in, say, 15 different raffles. As you see the bull that was killed here, my kid, I try to put my kids in for raffles. I never buy more than one ticket. Huntin' Fool, we do a ton of raffles too. I can't participate in those, but we give away a lot of hunts. It's always good to, maybe if that state draw odd is so terrible and not worth it, just put that money into raffles. But on our website, there's some places to look. And then, like I said, we give away a pile of amazing hunts as well. So just some other things to look at.
Okay, let's fill the freezer. Robert, tell us how.
All right. So we're going to talk about shooting cows. If we're talking about shooting mule deer does, I would go off on a tangent and start going down a rabbit hole. So don't do that. But we're talking about elk. So elk, you can shoot all the cows you want. A lot of guys are pretty excited and they just want to fill the freezer. And, hunting cow elk can be a great experience, because you don't have that pressure of how big's that bull, all that other stuff. Or if you're a bow hunter, man, you shoot 4 or 5 cows, it's going to give you a better idea on what it's like elk hunting before you draw that limited entry tag in one of these big states. So again, it's just about reps, and hunting cows is fun. The meat's great. I don't, again, I'm not big on hunting them in February and March. That's not my forte, but like anytime earlier than that, I like it. So some are draw, some are over the counters. So, all these states offer different kinds of cow opportunities. There's some states, Oregon, Arizona, some of the types in Wyoming that will take your points. So you got to be really careful about that. Then there's other states like Nevada that has a separate draw. Utah has a separate draw. Montana has a separate draw. Wyoming separate draw. And you can just put in for cows. Some of them you can build cow points. Maybe you're like, I can eat an elk every 2 years. Well, build points and then just every other year go and shoot a cow if you didn't kill your bull. So it just gives you, again, more experience in the field. Hunting a cow, just like hunting a bull, you're in the same terrain, topography. Sometimes it's tougher to kill a cow than it is a bull. Where a bull's by himself, the cow's got 10 other cows around. I mean, you might get lucky and shoot a calf or something, but you shoot a big old horse-faced 20-year-old cow, that's probably the smartest elk on that mountain. So when it comes to this, again, I think someone coined the frame dropping bombs on moms. But like there is, we'll shoot a cow every single time that we get a chance if our freezer's, not full. And honestly, again, this is Robert Hanneman. I would rather shoot a cow than shoot a 3-year-old bull, and just let him get a little bit older, and then maybe someone will have a chance at a trophy bull someday. So lots of opportunities to fill cows, to kill cows. Idaho, they do have a draw. There's no points. So, some of them are, you got to put in for your cow tag, or there's even over-the-counter cow tags that go on sale December 1st. And funny, the fastest tag to sell out in Idaho every year is a cow tag in the Pioneer Zone. So shows you how popular it can be. But if you want to go on a guided cow hunt, there's a lot of outfitters. Usually, Isaiah, $2,500 to $3,000 for a 2 or 3 day cow hunt. Some states you can shoot 1 or 2, and it's kind of a whole package deal. So, cow hunting opportunities are all over across the West. And again, if you don't have a hunt, maybe that's something just to go do.
Yeah, a lot of those guided cow hunts too are over the counter tags that are good on private land only. So you totally bypass a draw and just pick up a tag and book a hunt.
All of us have a cow. We apply for or acquire a cow tag or 2 every year. Okay, so some suggestions. Obviously, this is always overwhelming. First and foremost is budget, in my opinion. We always recommend that you have a budget-based application strategy, including what we just talked about, like with raffle tags. I always equate those raffle tags to like, okay, I'm going to go to Vegas. I'm going to spend a little bit of money on gambling as opposed to bankrupting the family farm. So I'll take $100 or whatever and put it in raffles. And then I also spread my application strategy out to where I look at it as if it were a monthly budget. So if all in, I'm going to have $600 in out-of-pocket costs. That's a $50 a month budget for me. I'm okay with that. So we always recommend that you start kind of backwards on an annual, break it down into monthlies, and then set some pockets of money aside for these raffles and other kind of long range opportunities. Robert, you want to talk about license app and member draw?
Yeah, so on the license app, this is a service that we provide at Huntin Full where we apply for all the states we have. It's not for everybody. If your life is so busy that you have a secretary that helps you out with everything and you're constantly missing applications, you should probably look into having, someone, anybody do your license app. If you're a guy that's just starting out and you're a little confused, some guys will do the license app for a year or two until they kind of figure it out, then they'll take it over on their own. If you're a Huntin Full member and you're one of our, full-fledged members where you get the service to be able to call in and talk to us. And if you just look at the magazine, we walk through all this stuff. But the license app service, you got to think about it. It costs a little bit of money, but let's just take, for example, a guy that missed Arizona. You missed your Arizona app, or you missed Wyoming. You went out of the max point pool. You'll never be in there. Or you missed Arizona. So you lost not just the point this year, but your loyalty point, which won't come back for 5 years. In a lot of these states that are really weighted heavy on that, you're like, oh man, I missed 1 year. So it put me 1 year behind. Let me tell you, that might have put you 10 or 15 years behind, dropping 1 point in the draw. So it's way more critical that you stay on top of this stuff. Huntin Full has an app. You can subscribe to all of our text messages to not miss this stuff. But if you're a guy that's so busy that you're going to constantly miss stuff, I would highly recommend you look into it. Go to our website. You can click on the license app tab. There's a draw calculator. Like Jared talked about, hey, what's my strategy? How much is this going to cost me? You can just play on that, and you can be like, I want to do Arizona. I want to do elk and deer. It's going to show you how much we would charge you, and it's going to show you how much you get charged by Arizona. And Arizona, of course, would be non-refundable. Other states like New Mexico would show you how much you get back. But you can sit there and play on that all you want. That's available to anybody, and that'll let you kind of build your budget. And then you're like, oh, maybe I'm more elk, or maybe I'm more deer. The other thing that's nice about License app is you get to talk to me or one of the other guys, and we can go over a strategy with you. This is the worst call I get. A guy calls me, from Arizona, and he goes, I got 30 points for desert sheep, and I'm still going after my my Arizona desert sheep. And I'm like, cool. And he's like, but I want to hunt mule deer now. And I'm like, oh man, me too. And I go, so you got max points in Arizona, right? Because you got 30 sheep points, so you'd have max deer points. Well, no, I never bought the points. And I'm like, what? You never bought points? And he's like, no, I didn't. So a lot of these guys on their own will be like, I'm just elk. That's all I care about is elk. And then they just buy elk points or applying elk everywhere else. Well, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, they're like, well, I want to hunt mule deer. I want to hunt antelope. Maybe I want to go after a sheep. And a lot of these states have add-ons where, you bought the license in Nevada or Arizona. Man, you're already over the hump of committing to the state. Now it's just 10 to 15 bucks, depending on each state, to get you in the name for these other, species. So I'm a huge fan of like talking to someone, either having us do your apps or just calling in and getting a consult to make sure you're not missing stuff that 20 years down the road is going to catch up to you and kind of bite you. So we've got a pile of people that work in our license app department. It's really good. I know that we draw a ton of tags every year. A lot of people always ask like, oh, I got better draw odds with you guys putting me in for your apps. I'm like, well, not really. Like, we're putting you in for the same app. You got better draw odds because we're not going to miss the deadline. I can say that. But in reality, it comes down to if you're that guy that doesn't have time or doesn't want to go over all that stuff, or you're too overwhelmed by it, just hire someone to do it. Like, I don't do everything, mechanically on my truck. I'm probably not going to re-roof my house because I don't have the time. I'm going to pay someone who's a professional to do that. This is what we do. The team we have in the license app, they are top notch. They've been doing this forever. I've been here 12 years, and a couple of the gals have been here longer than me. So long term, got these states dialed. They don't mess with anything else in the Huntin Full like, me and Jared and Isaiah do. They're solely focused on license app. That's their life. They know it inside and out. So again, it's one of those things where if you need it, we do it, and we do a phenomenal job at it. Jumping over to the member draw, The member draw is super cool. So what that is and onX members can use that, Huntful members can use that. We've got 29,000 people that have drawn tags. So if it's a, let's just say Idaho limb high over the counter elk tag, you're probably not going to get much good information because most people can get this tag. But if it's a, Arizona Unit 10 tag that took them 23 years to draw, when you call into the Huntinful and say, hey, I drew this tag for Arizona Unit 10, we're going to send you a list of the people that have drawn that tag in the last couple of years. It's got their email, it's got their phone number. Those guys are Huntinful members. They got the list before you, so they understand the process. On the harder the tag is to draw, the more information you're going to get. I mean, some of these tags that are like goat or sheep or really 1% type tags. I've talked to members, they're like, I called these two guys on the member draw list. One of them sent me his maps. Because it's like he bought the maps. Huntinful community is about helping other people that have drawn the same tags. I hate to say it because I don't want to discredit everything else we do, but I truly think this is one of the biggest benefits to being a Huntinful member or an onX member that gets to use this is you're getting to talk to people that were in the unit that you drew that hunted prior to you. I mean, I think it's priceless. I mean, everything else we do is great, but this is awesome.
No, I love it. And Robert, you touched on it already. onX Elite members already have access to a free Huntinful digital membership, which includes access to that member draw connection database. You can activate that membership either through the onX site or through the Huntinful site. We've programmed it to make it pretty seamless. We want you to participate in both of the ecosystems and get the most information that you can to get you out in the field. So with that said, again, really quickly here on the left, we do have that digital research opportunity that's included free if you're an onX Elite member. And then if you want to upgrade to a one-on-one, which is a personal consultation membership, or a printed research where you get 1,500 pages of our beautiful magazine that's chock full of 25 years worth of experience and research, or an all access, you get a discount through your onX membership as well. So we invite you to participate at least on the digital side for starters. You can also read that printed magazine online through that digital membership. So don't forget to activate that. It's another great benefit that we worked out with onX as a partner. With that said, Jack, do you want to take over here?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I will get the giveaway link posted in the chat here.
Okay. And then while he's doing that, we're going to move into Q&A. We'll get shut down when Jack says he's tired of us. We do love to answer questions. We realize we're already been at an hour here, right at an hour. So Jack, feel free to shut it down when you're ready, but we're more than happy to take questions if you want to start feeding them.
Yeah, we'll go for a little while here. It looks like we got about 15 in the hopper there. Let me scroll through these. I haven't seen these yet. I was too enthralled with the presentation so far, but let's see. Some of these we've talked about. Maybe clarification on the Idaho elk tags David asked. So the Idaho elk tags for non-residents are already gone. I think it kind of maybe depends whether we're talking OTC or limited entry, right?
Yeah, so the tags went on sale December 1st. Those tags are gone. But the outfitters were given a bunch of tags that if they don't sell, those are going to roll back over and be for sale for us. Then also, let's say Jack bought one and, Jack drew another tag or booked a hunt in Alaska and he's like, I can't go. So he's turning his tag back in. So if you go to Idaho Game and Fish return non-resident returned tag, again, if you just Google non-resident return tag list, it's going to take you to a page on the Idaho Game and Fish website. They're going to have some dates posted where they're going to put those tags back up for sale. It'll be just like December 1st. You'll go in the queue. You can go to buy one. You can call in, but essentially you log in at 9:45, 10 o'clock. Those tags will go on sale. They typically post them a day or two prior to that, so you'll be able to see what tags are for sale. So you can log on and be like, okay, this Salmon River or the Salmon B Zone, I want that tag. I'm going to try to go for it. If there's nothing you want, you're not going to see it. But you will see these tags kind of turn back over. So go to that webpage on Idaho, you'll see what's there, and then you'll kind of know what's available, and you can try to buy those tags as it comes. So yeah, Idaho it's over. until these other tags start shuffling back through. And I picked up one 2 years ago on one of these turnback tags. So, there's still chances.
Yeah, and to Jack's point too, there is Idaho's controlled hunt deadline is June 5th for elk, and all of those tags are still available, but you have to draw a limited entry or a controlled hunt. And like we pointed out before, you have to buy the $200 non-refundable hunting license, and then get into the draw there. I think it's another $14 for the application for elk, something like that. So there are additional elk opportunities still yet to be decided in Idaho. All of those controlled hunts that are going to be due by June 5th.
And one more thing, there's another question here by Garrett. He says, does the vendor have to be in Idaho? No, they do not. We're here in Missoula. I can go to Bob Ward's or Cabela's and buy tags. I know Washington, some of the sportsman's warehouses over there, they have tags as well. So it just has to be an Idaho Fish and Game vendor. You can go to their website. It'll list all their vendor locations. But like us here in Montana, well, we don't have to go to Idaho. These ones get overwhelmed by people. But yes, there is vendors outside of Idaho.
Jarrett asked when we'll have odds updated for Utah. I think he's talking about like the top rut odds there. He says this is an emergency. I appreciate the passion. We are waiting to get that information from Utah still, I believe. As far as I know, we will have that, in the top rut and on the Huntin' Fool. Everything will be updated by the time that draw opens. I don't believe it's even open right now, correct, Utah? No. So you've still got time, just some patience there. You'll be good to go once we have those. Arizona question here. Can I apply for bull elk and cow elk? Would it be possible to draw both tags to have better odds of harvesting one or the other?
You cannot. So you have one elk draw in Utah. So if you put in, you get
Arizona
first choice and second choice. So you could literally put in your first choice as a bull, second choice as a cow, but you're going to lose your points. Unfortunately, I've taken that call where a guy had 20 points and accidentally put in for a cow and his points were gone if he didn't, purchase point guard. So no, you can't. They're not two separate draws. It's one draw, and it's going to take your points if you draw it your first or second choice.
It's like a couple Montana questions here. Jake asking, I'm a Montana resident and wanting to hunt with a buddy that is out of state. What is our best approach for purchasing tags, draw, if we want to hunt together with an outfitter in 2025?
So you're wanting to hunt 2025 with an outfitter. So your buddy's already going to be able to buy 2 points. Now, Jake, you're a resident, so you're going to have a general elk tag. I'm assuming for this question, it's a general unit that you're hunting guided, because you're not saying it's a limited entry. So with that being said, you already have your tag, you're good to go. Your buddy, if he wants to hunt in 2025, what I would recommend is 2024 from July 1st until December 31st, he can buy $100 point. And this is just the preference point. And then when the application rolls around in March, he can buy a second point and he can buy the outfitter point, which will give him 3, which would guarantee him the tag. So that's how I would go about getting a tag for that year. If it was a general one, is kind of what I'm based on. Now, one little thing about that, maybe that outfitter already has a guy that has a point and he'll throw you into a group. You see a lot of that 2.2. So outfitters will play this game where they'll have one guy that has 3. So they'll have one guy build a point and then buy all those guys together. So everybody goes in at 2.2. So I would have him talk to your outfitter and see if he has something set up like that. If not, just buy the extra $100 point and you'll be guaranteed with 3 going in 2025.
Yeah, just one thing there too, like Robert touched on before, if you do purchase that outfitter point, you are required to hunt with an outfitter in the field. So if you go on the hunt and for whatever reason you don't kill what you're looking for and you want to hunt on your own, you're kind of screwed. So, maybe going around it by seeing if the outfitter has someone that already has points where you're not having to purchase that outfitter point. So you're not stuck to him.
Staying in Montana, if you draw the elk or big game combo and then a limited entry in Montana, let's assume the limited entry is archery only. Can you hunt general units with a rifle?
if you don't kill an elk
Yes.
in archery season, then yes, you could hunt the limited, you could hunt the general rifle and the general muzzleloader. So the limited entry would just be a part of the archery, so you wouldn't have to worry about, you know, anything. Once your archery hunt expired, your limited entry tag is gone, and you just have a general tag.
Yep.
Let's see. We'll try to do a few more here. Rudy asks, New Mexico, do they have a party or group draw?
So New Mexico does, but Jared touched on this earlier. Non-residents that apply that are in the outfitter draw are going to get 10% of the tags. In the non-outfitter draw, you're going to get 6% of the tags. So what you have to look at is how many tags are going to be available. So if you apply with a group of 3 and based on the number of tags by 6%, there's only going to be 1 or 2 tags available, then they'll let you apply, but you're going to have 0 chance of drawing. So in New Mexico, if you are applying as a party, you really need to pay attention on how many tags are in that unit. That'll dictate your party size. Every state minus Wyoming, if you draw and there's not enough tags left, they'll reject the whole party. Or Wyoming, if there was 1 tag left and 4 of us applied, they would just give 3 extra tags. So if you go to the Huntin eMag, you know, you're an onX premium member, go to the Huntin eMag, go to the New Mexico section. We've got a table there that shows you the breakdown of how many points you need for, you know, 1 tag, 2 tag, and 3 tags. So it'll kind of give you an idea, but that's one state you got to be careful on.
Yeah, he said points there, but he just meant how many tags would be available at any given quota.
Ryan asked here if these slides recording are posted. Yep. So if you guys missed anything, joined late, or want to review anything, everybody who signed up for this class will get an email tomorrow. It'll come from Zoom. So be looking for that from your, you know, in like the subject line. It might look a little goofy. It's a legit email. We've had that question a few times. There'll be a link in there with the YouTube links that you can go back and watch this as many times as you want. You can pause it, write stuff down, all that. So Ryan, you'll be getting an email from us tomorrow evening with this recording, and it'll be on the YouTube channel. Let's see if we can find another one. Dean asked if I can put the link up for the drawing. So the giveaway link is in the chat again, if you missed it the first time. Let's see.
Let's do Larry's question real quick.
Sure. So Larry asks, in Colorado, is there anything for youth that raises their chance?
So in Colorado, when they apply in the draw, you know, the youth are going to get a reduced price, you know, license. And then when it comes to the over-the-counter stuff as well, it's a reduced price license for the youth as well. The one thing on Colorado that I think is really kind of special is Colorado, after the draw takes place, a lot of people turn their tags back in or there's leftover tags, and they'll do their second draw. What's cool about Colorado's second draw for anybody that has kids like Larry is we all apply for those tags. They're going to draw every single youth first. So all those kids get first shot at those tags before they ever make it to me. My boys have gotten multiple Colorado tags. Garth's daughter's gotten Colorado tags in the second draw, Logan's kids. It's one of those things that all that leftover stuff, they're going to let kids have the first chance at getting any of those tags. So that's kind of that sweet little thing for Colorado kids, or kids in Colorado. It'll probably change someday, you know, everything changes, but if you've got a youth, that second draw, there's no points associated. So sometimes, I mean, there's been, you know, Gunnison Basin, 3rd season, deer tags left, which, you know, take 15 to 20 points for a non-resident to draw. And, you know, on that secondary draw, it goes in there and there's kids drawing those tags with no points, and it doesn't take their points either.
Speaking about kids, Luis asked if we'll have a youth kids application masterclass soon. We won't have one this year, but that's a good suggestion. Maybe that's something we do in the future. So.
We do have, to that end, Jack, we do have in our December issue every year. So again, as an onX Elite member, you can access our eMag online, go to the December issue. There's a special section in there that's dedicated. It's a real high level overview of youth fees, opportunities, etc. But there is a section dedicated to youth in this every December issue.
Excellent. Well, I think we'll say goodbye for tonight. We're at 6:45 already here in Montana. So just want to thank everybody again for joining us. Want to thank Robert, Jared, Isaiah for the awesome information. And I do want to give one more plug. We are doing a couple more classes we've got scheduled. If you go to the onX website, or if you just Google onX Hunt Masterclasses, should be the first one that pops up. We've got the mule deer specific class listed on there, as well as the antelope one. You can get signed up right now. Even if you're not sure if you can attend, go ahead and get signed up, because if you can't attend on that night live, you'll get the email with the recording sent to you so that you can go watch it when you have the time and learn about those draws as well. And with that, gentlemen, I'll say goodnight until the next one.
We appreciate your
All right.
time.
Thanks, guys.